You're watching Honoring the Armor podcast, hosted by Coach Nikki M.
Honoring the Armor, friends and family, we are back with another episode as we continue to explore the emotional armor and the weight of the emotional armor of the responsibility that comes with being the eldest sibling. Today, I have my eldest sibling joining us to talk about her experience of being the eldest, to talk about the weight of the responsibility that she has felt of being the eldest. So please give a warm welcome to my sister Antoinette.
Thank you.
Say hi to the people.
Hi, people.
All right. So I know that this has been, sorry, y'all, a conversation that we have had, not in this forum. So welcome to the couch and thank you for coming to the couch.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be home.
I know that we have had it just like a little bit offline, and we've talked about some of the conversations that I've had with other people, right, who have shared their experience of the weight of that armor. And so I want to ask you, from your own seat and your perspective, why do you think that this is a good conversation to have?
I think it's a good conversation because oftentimes the eldest children don't really get an opportunity to speak their piece, so to speak. You're carrying the weight of your own feelings, the weight of you trying to grow and mature, along with carrying that weight for your siblings.
How do you think having more of this conversation will help people? I mean, maybe not 10,000 people, maybe not 100 people, maybe 10 people, right? How do you think this conversation will help people?
I think it offers a good perspective for people to realize some of the things that we bury, some of the feelings, some of the emotions that the eldest sibling oftentimes doesn't get to speak. So I think it allows a forum for that. And then it allows you an opportunity, if you haven't done your work, if you haven't healed, it allows you an opportunity to kind of either add to that or take a step toward that.
Okay. Oh, I like that. Add to it or take a step towards it. I want to go just like a slight left, just a little bit. When you talk about, because I think this is important, taking the time to heal, what is it that you believe, either like yourself, your own personal experience, or other individuals who've had this experience? What do you think that they're healing from, I guess?
That's a good question. For me, personally, I think being the eldest sibling kind of like snowballed into a very, very, very poor habit of people pleasing. And so it was almost like that. You see those old cowboy movies when the dust, rolls down the middle of the path. So it's kind of like that. It just rolled down and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. For me, in my world, I think that sometimes you just instinctively feel like you have to do something, almost like in a robotic way. And once, like, say your siblings or, adult people, you don't, some people don't turn it off. And then so sometimes those older siblings, the younger siblings that are now adults, sometimes tend to, like there's a battle there because there's that eldest sibling who's still trying to care, but then as they grow, it's almost considered like an element of control.
Like you're trying to control
That
and
adult
like
now.
dictate. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. And I like that you said care, because that was one thing I think I talked about in a prior episode, is learning how to care without caretaking. right?
Oh, yeah.
And then you also mentioned, and I want to just go back a little bit to that, the people pleasing, how that can be kind of like intertwined. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that just reminded me of how we talk about boundaries. And when you don't,
Absolutely.
when you don't have like healthy, firm boundaries, like there is like a bookend to that of people pleasing sometimes.
Absolutely.
And if you are in that arena, I don't have healthy, firm boundaries, I'm people pleasing, then absolutely you are like ripe for continuing maybe what is not a good habit of, I have to caretake, right? All of these other people. When do you think, like, what's your earliest memory of something or someone telling you that, like, hey, you are responsible for your younger siblings and you have to take care of them?
I don't think it was directly said to me in that way. My earliest memory of being given responsibility,
Yeah.
I was 7.
Okay.
And so in that time, I had to do all the laundry for the entire family, all the cooking. I started cooking.
What was you cooking at 7?
That's when things started. I was taught to cook. That's when the ball started rolling, I guess I should say.
I have to tell y'all, I was not taught to cook at 7.
So our grandmother would take me in the kitchen. She would teach me. Our great grandmother would teach me. It started out with like pastries, baking things, stuff like that. Particularly like the peach cobbler. So I was intertwined, I guess, in their world in that way. And I remember ironing clothes on the 3rd floor. So those were my earliest memories.
And so learning those things at 7 and kind of having that grow and build to greater responsibility, right? I was what, 3 when you were 7?
Yes.
So I don't have any memory of that, but I have extremely vivid memories of you being the only person who had a key and being latchkey, right? I wasn't
Right.
latchkey because I was not allowed to have a key, y'all. Okay. You had the key. We would get off the bus. I think I got off last. You guys had to wait for me at the corner. And then we would go home. And then it was you orchestrating, right?
It was like game on, right?
Game on. Change out of your school clothes. This is the chore list. Get your chores done. Do your homework. Sometimes in the reverse order. Do your homework. Get your chores done. Get your school clothes ready. Get your bath. And you had your chores. And then you had to cook, right? You had to make dinner. So I vividly remember what for me feels like years of that. I don't remember how many years, right? But I do remember like years of you do this, you do that, I'm going to do this. So I do remember that. And so that's my memory of the responsibility, like increasing and growing, right? I do remember you balancing checkbooks. I learned how to balance checkbooks in school. I think you learned from doing,
Yes.
right? And so when you think about all of that, where, if any place, do you think was an opportunity for you to even think about turning that off?
That's an interesting question. I don't think I've ever thought about turning it off until probably in the last 18 months, honestly.
Get out.
I think so.
Because I'm old, y'all. By that, I mean supple. and fabulous, but much older than I used to be. But you have not thought about flipping that switch off until like the last year and a half.
Let me be clear.
Okay. Let me be clear.
So it's separate, like for each of my siblings.
Okay, say more.
So for you, my youngest sibling, I was forced to cut that tap off. Like, you weren't having it. I do not need you to police me. This is not going to happen. So that was different. That was actually traumatic for me. In a sense that, and you know this, you were my baby. And the transference of responsibility for me having those roles so early. And it's like, you were the one that I'm like, okay, this is it, kid. Like, you got to make sure this one is good. And so, but then when you started growing up and I don't know, going out and dating and like, I was freaking out for a minute, like, oh my God, like she doesn't need me anymore. And so that, it was a break, but it wasn't one I controlled.
Yeah.
It wasn't really one I think I desired at that moment either. So I was like,
I was
petrified.
not prepared like that.
Exactly. Okay. I'm like, what do I do with this? Like, I mean, oh my God, she's got her own friends. Like, I'm not included. Who does this? No, that's my sister. So,
the world does this.
Right. But for me, it was like, we were just like, this is us. Right. And so I didn't want other people to come in.
Now, y'all know it's interesting she's saying this because my sister has always had her own friends and always. And I was constantly unbothered by this. So I love the juxtaposition because
right. But it was different because I was the eldest.
I was going to say, being so much older than me, she always had her own crew because they were older and I was annoying and the, little sister or whatever. So that is interesting. It almost reminds me of the way parents talk about once their kids are like, don't kiss me.
Right.
Don't drop me off right in front of, can you just drop me off a little further back? It almost reminds me of that and how like shocking and disturbing it is for them.
Yeah. But it's a double-edged sword. It's like a catch-22. While we can sit here and laugh about it now and joke about it, I think particularly for me, it was like, it was misplaced. Like, you are my sister, my younger sister, my youngest, well, not my youngest, but you are my younger sister, my only sister. And I love you dearly, but that maternal bond should never have developed in that manner.
Yeah.
Like, it was a maternal bond. It wasn't a sibling bond.
Oh, that's deep. Okay. You had mother energy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, and I'm like, if somebody bothers her, if it's within, a 5-mile radius, I'm on my way. I'm getting my shoes on. Let's go.
Can't make it that 6 miles. Just can't.
Let's
just
go.
one more mile.
Right.
Okay.
So, I think it was a maternal thing. And it was like getting part of you just like ripped out. And honestly, I felt like I had to find my place. With our brother, it was different. He would come to me because when he was younger, he was more vocal in terms of his needs.
Okay.
You, on the other hand, you would only be vocal if it were your last option. And then you spill the tea. If there was a way 50 times over to not come this way, you were going to do it.
Make it happen, Gavin.
You were going to do it.
I was going to make it happen.
And I think when our brother was here taping his session, and he talked about how you, and it was interesting because he mentioned that you it's not you. You love all your children. Remember, you always used to hate that. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
all of you just the same.
No, that's never what she said. No, what did she say? So our mother used to say, and by this she's not deceased. She's very much well and alive, about to turn older.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say her age on camera, y'all. I don't want to get in trouble, but I used to say growing up that my sister was my mother's favorite, and my mother would say the same thing every time. It irked me. I love you all the same, Nicole. You just have different needs. I'd be like, that's a lie. So, so that's what she used to say all the time. What did he say when he was here? Is that what he repeated, you're saying?
No, what he said was that to try to look at it from a different perspective, that she did love each of us the same. She met each of us where we needed it. Mm-hmm. So in different ways. So it may have appeared she loved each of us differently. And one was the chosen one, or, mm-hmm. The favorite. Mm-hmm. Because in my book, he's her favorite. Always has been. Do you see how this goes? Like,
no.
From my eyesight, he's her favorite. Seriously.
No. I'm going to just tell y'all right now, I'm my mother's favorite.
Oh, here we go.
Okay. Let's just get that out. I would like to say, in my mother's defense, though, I didn't know that growing up, but I know it now. And now so do you all. I am her favorite.
I would let her have that. I would,
I am her favorite.
I would just let her have that.
But it absolutely felt to me that you were her favorite. And I think that, and not to derail us, but I think that every parent does their best, right? I hope they're doing their best to, as our brother said, give each child what they need. But I still feel, I felt like I needed more of that. I think the best way I can put it is like that petting and cooing mm-hmm. that I got.
Okay. So let me say that. No one got petting and cooing.
Yes, y'all did.
No, let me be the first to correct the record here. I can't say on camera what Mom used to say to me when I would cry.
This the little red wagon? Oh, no. Okay. Well, don't say it on camera.
I can't. I totally can't.
Okay, don't do that.
Not to public. But
no, not to the public.
No. But it was not, let me tell you, it was not petting. There was no cooing. And I think what you perceived as me, or even our brother getting this like a different type of treatment mm-hmm. was me getting instructions. Like, so you guys don't remember,
this
but
sounds fishy, y'all.
No, there was a period of time when brief. Mm-hmm. You guys would call me little mom and call her big mom.
Oh no, I definitely don't remember. I have no memory of that.
And the time that I spent with her, going back to what you said, mm-hmm. learning the checkbook, learning things, there was always instruction.
Oh.
There was always a lesson.
Okay. Oh. Okay.
There was always a command.
Okay. Don't say command. My mother did not command.
It was a command.
She is gentle and lovely.
She is. She's a beautiful woman, but there was a command. Yeah.
Okay. So fast forwarding to going back actually to what you said about our brother. So it was a different transition.
Absolutely.
As he was getting older and coming of age. And it sounds like what I'm hearing you say is it was like a slower transition, like more like steady and not abrupt. And you weren't like dropped off a cliff. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
He didn't do that to me.
Oh. Y'all. The Bible says, train them up in the way that they should
here we go.
Okay. That they should go in this not depart. My mother was supposed to raise me and then release me like a dove, and I flew away. That was what I was supposed to do. Okay, so there was not until like the last 18 months a really like intentional analysis for you and saying, well, wait a minute. Everybody is grown and has been for some time. Like, what am I still thinking?
So to be frank, when I started really suffering within myself, marital issues, and just really digging down, going, what's going on here? So the first thing I did was I started looking at myself internally, the fact that I'm a severe empath, and what does that mean? And then looking at the dynamic, of my child rearing years and the responsibilities. For me, it ended up, it's almost like a kid sitting weeping because all the other kids are gone outside to play in the party and you're there sitting in a corner.
Instead of just going outside.
Right. Because you know no one. And maybe someone you tried to engage with wasn't very responsive. And so then you shied away and you shuddered back. When I started to dig, and it was unearthing, it's very painful. For me, I connected me, the being, the person, with how I took care of my family. It was like, how they say one of those old grandmothers. My grandmother was a proud woman, her greatest accomplishment was how she took care of her family. So it was almost like that, not to like an extreme extent, but that was where my value was.
So you're talking about your self-worth.
Yeah, like that's how I equated the two. So when no one needed me anymore, and like you said in your words, I felt dropped off a cliff. I didn't know what to do. I went to college, didn't know what to do. Picked up people I tried to care for there. That didn't work out very well. And of course, yes, hindsight is 20/20. It was funny because it became a joke. I told Mom, like seriously, if there was a bum within a 5-mile radius, I wanted to pick him up and dust him off and help him. And it was just terrible. Like,
I
seriously.
That.
I mean, I totally rebuke it now, but back then I was just like, oh, I can help you. It's like, give me a break. Like, dude. So, yeah, I struggled because when I left home, and I think I recently told you this, is that warmth, that cuddling, that direction that you got being the last person in the home.
That did not happen, y'all.
No, I'm saying
warmth, cuddling, and direction. Who was this?
I kind of missed that. No, what I'm saying, that you desired.
Oh, that I desired. Okay. Ooh,
right.
Okay.
So when you were the last person in the home, you didn't get it in that necessarily that manner, but you got tools and instructions that I didn't get.
I don't know. We're going to have to talk about that.
Well, because when you think about it, okay, think about how young Mom was when she was pregnant with me and she had me. So by the time you came along toward the end, all the kinks were worked out.
No.
And so you were getting stuff that I never got.
That ain't happy.
Oh, yeah, I did. Because remember, I talked to you about it recently. About save your money. Do this.
Oh, you
Don't
did tell me that. I made the assumption that she was telling everybody.
No, because you have to understand.
Oh, okay.
We grew together.
Oh, okay.
So the missteps that I was making, she was
telling
making
me
her own in her own
together.
space. We were learning together.
Okay. That is a huge point. So it's almost like what you're saying is birth order, right? You being the oldest, you and mom learning and growing together, and the responsibilities that were placed on you, all of that was an absolute formula for you to continue decades of believing that you were responsible for, oh, I'm sorry, y'all, for your youngest siblings. Like, all of that was like an absolute perfect cocktail for that.
Absolutely. And in my mind, because back then I didn't learn that, okay, so if plan A doesn't work out, you don't shrink, you don't give up. You know, of course, you know, mom always said nothing beats a failure but a try. Okay, but they don't tell you if plan A doesn't work out, you don't just need plan B. You need B, C, D, E.
That's a lot of planning, but okay.
But so, in other words, don't give out just because the initial way that you planned something or thought about it or dreamt about it or whatever didn't work out. You know, revise, pivot, change it. You know, if this is still your desire, make it work some other kind of way. Don't just be thinking about it in one path. So with that said, she was growing in that same way, learning some of these same skills. What I didn't do was cut it off. And one of the most prevalent ways I think that you started to expose the behavior. This child. Whew, I tell you, love her to death. I mean, I'd kill a rock. But this child right here, she could bring some stuff to the table. So when you said to me years ago,
I'm gonna tell y'all right now, if this does not paint me in a positive light, I'm denying it. What is it that I allegedly said? I wish I had that little button. Allegedly.
So she right. So she called me my nickname and she goes, you know, just want to talk to you about this. You know, I really realize that, and I'm not saying I don't appreciate it because I do, because I know, you know, this is very thoughtful. But you know, you buy people gifts that you want them to have. Not what they want to have.
I 100% said that. And I meant every syllable.
And when you said it to me, I was like, oh my God. Like I do that. Because I do. And I did.
I didn't say this, y'all, until, I want to be clear, decades.
So basically
what she was saying, the things
basically what she was saying
wanted me to
is,
have.
I got a little closet of tchotchke over here that you've been giving me since you was about 16, and I'm really tired of it right now. So I'm gonna have to talk to you. We need an intervention.
I absolutely said that. Wow. And so you feel
that
like,
was one of the points when it first came to me, the people pleasing. Now, because but I didn't know how deep it really ran, right? So it has so many offsets that you really, I mean, I know we don't have enough time to talk about here on the podcast, but it has a lot of little different branches, right? For me in my world. Other people may not experience that, but what I can say is what I've learned, right? Through my own growth and healing, and then also through helping other people, is that it does come from a place where you start out having poor self-esteem. Now, that can like blow or turn into like a ball where it's just getting bigger and worse and worse and worse. And then you shrink further and further back. And that can put you in a really dark place. And after Dad died, I was in that dark place. And that's when I really started to dig. And then, I spent 2.5 years in that dark place. And then I started to come out of it. And then I really started to see, reflecting on some of the conversations that we had before, reflecting on some of my behaviors, and just really starting to look at the source, you know, of like where they're coming from.
So now that we've gotten to the root of like the origin of some of that, right? Birth order, learning and growing with your parent who's learning and growing, having adult responsibility. And we've gotten to that origin for yourself as an individual. What are some other, I think, reasons, maybe from a societal perspective? So really panning the lens out. What are some other reasons, and especially because you said you've had this conversation with other people and help other people, what are some reasons that other people have experienced this kind of emotional armor, being the oldest?
I think it makes some people more driven.
Say more about that.
Well, again, going back to maybe that robotic state, it's almost like once you learn something, you want to perfect it.
Okay.
And so you want to just keep getting better at it and better at it and better at it. And it started with caring for those siblings. And then it reaches further, like you're saying, on a broader perspective, because now you're taking that that semblance of perfection into your work. You're taking it into your marriage. You're taking it into any situationship or relationship.
Wow.
So you're widening that scope of what you think you must do in order to be.
Wow. When did you start to make the connection? So within that the recent, I guess I'll say 18 months of reflection, right, and doing the work. And I know you've been doing some work on boundaries as well. When did you make the connection?
I'm in recovery.
She's in recovery. Boundary recovery.
Oh, yeah.
When did you make the connection of, I have got to really derive my sense of self and my self-worth from other places, right? Places inside yourself. Like, when within that 18 months, and what helped you kind of make that connection?
I sought therapy, particularly a form of therapy called EMDR. And in that, I had to address some childhood issues, some trauma, right? And then I realized that I needed to stand up for myself. But I needed to realize who myself was.
Yeah.
What does the world look like through Antoinette's lens? So Squeaky, my childhood nickname, well, he didn't, I wasn't trying to kill her off or anything, but I had to put her in her place, right? So I had to separate my duties. And basically, I had to be the one to sever the apron strings, because and I had to realize that my siblings and my mom are not going to fall apart if I'm not there.
That's good.
And I think it's also an element when you're put in that position as the eldest, you become a control freak. I shouldn't say freak. I'm sorry. Let me retract that. You become someone who functions well when you're able to control the elements of your environment.
Wow.
And when you cannot control those elements,
You don't function well.
then you will see the cracks in the wall begin to break.
Wow. Okay. If somebody came to you and said, like, hey, I saw you talking about this. I heard about this. I am the oldest of 5. Everybody is in their 50s and 60s. And I feel like, no, these are true stories. And I feel like I still have to help my one sister do this. I have to help my other brother do that. And I am grinding myself to dust, trying to take care of them. Like, what guidance could you offer them? Like, how could you help them without caretaking?
Right, because see, I would be like, girl, let me come over here and cook you something and let me just help you. I'll deliver this to your brother on this day. We'll get a schedule. No, okay, I'm back.
Okay.
I told y'all I'm recovering. I really am. First, I would give that person the biggest hug, and I would let them know that they have a peer who understands. And I will not sugarcoat it. It is a hard climb. I totally recommend talking to somebody about it because I chose that path for me, and that was great. And I think, and you know, I'm glad that I have a support system that I do have.
Right.
And I would suggest that person get a support system that maybe they know someone, you know. I've often found, and more recently than in the past, my tribe is not just my blood.
Right. For real.
Like, it is my community. It is my community of love. It is my community of believers. These are my family members too. And that's okay.
Do you think that getting an accountability partner would be helpful? Because I think if people are really, truly at a place where they are ready, willing, able to do the work every day to make the change that they say they want to make, then I think an accountability partner is super useful.
Well, that's part of the support. That's part of your support unit. I think it's going to be like scratching claws. It might feel like somebody's running, you know, fingernails on a chalkboard at some point. You may be defensive. I know early on I was very defensive. Very like, that can't be me. Like, you kidding, right? Seriously. Well, I would tell that person to show themselves the same amount of grace that they give to their siblings.
Yeah.
Or anybody that they've become caretaker over. I would remind them that I don't care how many ways we slice it, you're never going to pour well from an empty cup. Never.
So before we wrap up, we're going to do some rapid reflections. And I had some in mind, but I'm going to change them a little bit.
Sweet. You know, she does this thing with her eyes. Like,
What'd I do?
she give me the side eye and lets me know.
Did I do that?
I'm just kidding.
Oh. So I'm going to give you a phrase.
Okay.
And I'll start it and you complete it. Okay? I used to think the word no meant.
Oh, I used to think the word no was blasphemy.
Okay.
Like, it was not going to be in my vocabulary. It was impossible for me to do that because I would always say in my mind, what is that person going to think? If I tell them no, I can't let them down. I have to do this. I don't care how tired I am. I don't care how broke I am. I cannot say no.
I now realize that the word no is.
I now realize that the word no is acceptable. It is empowering.
That part.
It does not require an explanation after the period.
Let's take a moment of silence for that.
I just learned that. I don't have to give somebody like a 10-minute reason why I can't do something. Like, I just can't. It's no. I'm sorry, I can't help you. And I learned that that's okay.
Yes.
And I don't have guilt associated with it anymore. That eats me alive.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do another one. The daughter I used to be believed that.
The daughter I used to be believed that I had to do anything and everything I could to please everybody, to make them happy, to make sure that their worlds were safe and comfortable.
All right. The daughter I am now knows that.
The daughter that I am now knows that I am not God.
Yeah.
Perfection is an illusion. And self-awareness is a powerful tool.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
And we'll do one more. The older sister that I used to be believed.
The older sister I used to be believed they better do what I say. Okay? You better get your hind parts in here and do what I say do. I don't want no back talk.
Okay. The older sister I am now knows that.
You get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. The older sister I am now knows that my little people are not little people and they are beautiful adults and they got some mouths they can pop off, but I learned
She is not talking about me. Okay.
I learned to meet them where they are. And being the eldest sibling rocks. It is like a beautiful
that's
thing.
so nice.
It really is. Like seeing these, I mean, I'm just all warm and fuzzy. Like I see my sister and my brothers and I'm proud. I feel warm.
Oh, good.
I can look on TV and that's my tribe.
I can look on TV.
Yeah.
ABC call me. No, I'm just playing.
Oh, okay.
I can look on
Speaking
TV.
into existence, right?
That's right. Well, thank you so much for coming and
Thank you.
sitting on the couch today. This was so nice.
It was.
I cannot wait until your mother sees this and you said her age.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay.
It's a beautiful thing. You know, I think just before we go, I think what I've learned embracing healing, right?
Yeah.
That I want your listeners and your viewers to understand. There's power in that. It's release. And I think I've found that I can love you better. Sorry. I can love our mother better. I can love my family better. I can love me better by knowing who I am. And that accountability partner you spoke about, guess what? Starts with me.
Well, that ends that. What more could we say after
It's yourself.
that? Your accountability partner
Is you.
is you. All right. Well, that's a good place to wrap this up. And I thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
And honoring the armor, friends and family, I thank you for joining us. I thank you for supporting us. Please, please, please share, like and subscribe. We are headed toward an entirely new year, 2025. Listen, I am not telling you to create New Year's resolutions about what you need to do to shed the weight of some of your emotional armor, but I am going to highly encourage you to take all your little pieces and put them in your hand and look at them. And the pieces that don't fit, the pieces that you want to change and switch out, the pieces that you do not like, today is the day to start the work to change what it is that you need to change to live your best life, to be your best self. And if that includes shedding your emotional armor, then today is the day to take the first step to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching Honoring the Armor podcast. We're releasing new episodes every other week. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments. Like and subscribe so you don't miss out.